You click this because you want the cheat code. You want the bypass. The truth is, the ultra-wealthy are not working harder than you. They are playing a different game with a different set of rules. An actual infinite money glitch exists right now in 2026. You do not need a Wall Street hedge fund, a billion-dollar trust fund, or an army of corporate lawyers to use it. You just need the right mechanics. Stop thinking about money as a direct exchange for your time. That is the old way, the industrial way. The new way is a closed-loop system of asset appreciation, tax-free liquidity, and geographic arbitrage. In 2026, the barriers to entry for high-level wealth strategies have collapsed. The glitch is not illegal. It is systemic. It is built direct into the fabric of the global financial code, waiting for you to exploit it. Today, I'm going to show you how to build this engine from scratch. We're going to cover 3 specific modules. First, the 2026 update to the notorious buy, borrow, die strategy, showing you how to get massive amounts of cash without ever triggering a taxable event. Second, the geo-arbitrage tax shield, where we weaponize international tax codes to keep 100% of your profit. Third, borderless yields, showing you how to deploy that tax-free liquidity into automated global assets. Grab a notepad, shut off your notifications. Let us build your glitch. What if I told you that selling your winning investments is the worst financial decision you can make? Most people think the goal of investing is to buy an asset, watch it go up in value, sell it, and take the profit. That is a trap. The moment you click sell, you trigger a capital gains tax. You lose a massive chunk of your hard-earned wealth to the government. The wealthiest families on earth do not sell their assets. They use a legal, structural strategy called buy, borrow, die. Here is how the mechanics work in plain English. You buy assets. This could be index funds, real estate, or blue-chip cryptocurrencies. Over time, those assets grow in value. Instead of selling them to buy a house, fund a business, or travel the world, you borrow against them. The government does not tax debt. Loan proceeds are tax-free. Let us run a thought experiment. Imagine you have built up a $500,000 investment portfolio. You decide you want $200,000 to buy a property or start a new venture. If you sell off your portfolio to get the cash, you might owe 20% in capital gains taxes. That is $100,000 gone, vanished. Instead, you go to your brokerage account or a decentralized finance lending protocol. Decentralized finance, or DeFi, simply means using blockchain software to replicate banking services without a middleman. You take out a securities-based loan against your portfolio. When you borrow against your assets, banks use a metric called loan-to-value, or LTV. If you have $500,000 in stocks, a 40% LTV means you can borrow $200,000. The bank or the smart contract locks your assets as collateral and gives you a line of credit. You now have $200,000 in cold, hard cash to spend. You pay 0 taxes on this money. Why does this work like magic? Because your original $500,000 is still invested in the market. It is still growing. The interest rates on these secured loans are often much lower than credit cards or personal loans because the bank holds your assets as a safety net. If your portfolio grows by 8% a year and the interest rate on your loan is 5%, your assets are out-earning your debt. The debt shrinks in real terms while your net worth climbs higher. In the past, this was a velvet rope strategy reserved for the elite. Wall Street kept it hidden behind private wealth managers, but in 2026, the game has changed. Digital brokerages and modern DeFi platforms allow almost anyone with a decent portfolio to borrow against their assets with a few taps on a smartphone. You extract the cash, avoid the tax, and keep the compounding growth. When you eventually pass away, your heirs inherit the assets with a stepped-up basis, meaning the tax slate is wiped clean. You buy the assets, you borrow the cash, you die without ever paying the tax bill. That is step 1 of the glitch. Earning massive returns means nothing if you are bleeding 40% of it to your local tax authority. It is time to talk about geographic arbitrage. This is the act of relocating yourself to a jurisdiction that treats your money better than your home country does. Let us look at the United States tax system. The US taxes its citizens on their worldwide income, no matter where they live. But there is a massive legal shield built into the code called the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion, or FEIE. The IRS adjusts this number for inflation every year. In 2026, the FEIE limit has climbed to $132,900 per person. If you are a married couple, both working, that limit doubles to $265,800. To qualify for the FEIE, you cannot just take a 2-week vacation to Mexico. You must pass the physical presence test. This rule requires you to be physically present in a foreign country or countries for at least 330 full days during any 12-month period. It takes commitment, but that commitment is what unlocks the tax shield. This means if you live outside the US, you can earn up to $132,900 free of US federal income tax. But wait, you still have to pay tax to the country where you live, right? Not if you pick the right destination. Welcome to the United Arab Emirates. Dubai has become the undisputed global capital for digital nomads and modern investors for one specific reason: 0% personal income tax and 0% capital gains tax. Imagine making $130,000 working online as a software developer, a consultant, or an e-commerce owner in Dubai. You claim the foreign earned income exclusion on your US tax return. You pay $0 to the IRS. Because you are a resident of the UAE, you pay $0 in personal income tax to the Dubai government. You keep every single penny you earn. Now, to be accurate, the UAE did introduce a corporate tax recently to align with global standards. In 2026, businesses with annual profits over AED 375,000, which is about $102,000, face a 9% corporate tax. But your personal salary, the capital gains from your investments, and your real estate profits remain untouched and tax-free. Think about the math for a second. A professional living in California or London making $130,000 might take home $80,000 after federal, state, and local taxes. By moving their laptop to a high-rise in Dubai or a beach town in Costa Rica with a territorial tax system, they give themselves an instant $50,000 raise. That is free capital. Capital that you can now pump back into your portfolio to buy more assets, which you can then borrow against, tax-free. Do you see the infinite loop forming? You maximize the income by working globally. You eliminate the tax drag through geo-arbitrage. You funnel the retained cash into appreciating assets. You borrow your living expenses against the growth. Now that you have optimized your active income and secured tax-free liquidity, where does that money go? You cannot leave it in a traditional fiat savings account earning a microscopic yield. Inflation will eat your purchasing power alive. You need borderless yields. You need investments that ignore geography, operate around the clock, and compound without friction. This is where real estate investment trusts, known as REITs, and automated yield farming come into play. A REIT is a company that owns, operates, or finances income-generating real estate. It allows you to invest in a massive portfolio of properties the same way you buy a single share of stock. You get the rental income and the appreciation without ever fixing a leaky toilet or dealing with a difficult tenant. But in 2026, the technology has evolved. We now have tokenized real estate. This is real-world physical property digitized on a blockchain network. You do not need to save up to buy a $2 million apartment building in Miami. You can buy a digital token that represents a fractional ownership stake in a commercial data center in Singapore or a luxury hotel complex in Switzerland. These tokens pay out yields direct to your digital wallet in real time. The friction is gone. There are no middlemen brokers taking a cut. There are no massive minimum investment thresholds. There are no regional restrictions blocking you from participating just because you hold the wrong passport. Let us map out the scenario. You take your $50,000 in tax savings from your Dubai geo arbitrage setup. You deploy it into a tokenized real estate fund yielding 8% a year. At the exact same time, you use a decentralized finance protocol to deposit algorithmic stablecoins. Stablecoins are digital currencies mathematically pegged to the US dollar. They do not fluctuate like traditional crypto assets. When you provide liquidity with stablecoins, you act as the bank. You lend your capital to decentralized exchanges. Smart contracts lend your stablecoins to institutional borrowers, paying you a steady 6 to 9% annual yield, paid out by the minute. In return, the trading fees that normally go to a Wall Street market maker go direct to you. It is peer-to-peer finance. You are now generating passive, predictable cash flow from a decentralized global network. Because you are a tax resident in a zero-tax jurisdiction, that yield is yours to keep. You route that passive yield back into your primary asset portfolio. Your overall portfolio grows larger. Because your portfolio is larger, your borrowing power increases. You take out a larger, tax-free line of credit. You use that credit to buy more cash-flowing assets. This is the actual infinite money glitch. You buy appreciating assets. You borrow against them to access cash without ever triggering a capital gains tax. You structure your physical residency to legally wipe out your income tax burden. You deploy those massive tax savings into borderless, high-yield digital assets that compound 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have detached your wealth from the traditional, slow-moving banking system. You have bypassed the heavy taxation that keeps the middle class trapped in a paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. You have engineered a private, self-sustaining financial ecosystem that grows on autopilot. The ultimate cheat code is putting these 3 gears into motion: buy, borrow, move, die. The mechanics are proven, the laws are written, the platforms are live and waiting for you. But understanding the theory